Well, welcome everyone. I want to thank you all for coming to join us today for the first in what will hopefully be a long and successful series of events entitled Inside the Scholar Studio, in which we'll be inviting various authors to come to campus and talk about their work today. And I want to thank especially the HDS Alumni Relations and Andover Harvard Theological Library for sponsoring this event today. So I want to start off by introducing our speaker, who probably needs no introduction, but I'm going to do it anyway. Reza Aslan is an internationally acclaimed writer and scholar in the history of religions, serving currently as Associate Professor of Creative Writing and cooperating faculty in the Department of Religion at the University of California, Riverside. He holds a bachelor's degree in Religious Studies from Santa Clara University, a Master of Theological Studies from Harvard Divinity School. I thought that might get some applause. And a PhD in the Sociology of Religions from the University of California, Santa Barbara, as well as a Master of Fine Arts from the University of Iowa, where he was named Truman Capote Fellow in Fiction. He is the founder of AslanMedia.com, an online journal for news and entertainment about the Middle East and the world, and co-founder and chief creative officer of BoomGen Studios, the premier entertainment brand for creative content from and about the greater Middle East. He serves on the board of directors for many nonprofits and NGOs working around the world. He is also a member of the inaugural cohort of the recipients of the Peter Gomes Memorial Honors, given by the HDS Alumni Council in April of 2013. Reza's first book is the international bestseller, No God But God, The Origins, Evolution, and Future of Islam, which has been translated into 13 languages and named one of the 100 most important books of the last decade. He is also the author of How to Win a Cosmic War, published in paperback as Beyond Fundamentalism, Confronting Religious Extremism in a Globalized Age, and is the editor of 2 volumes, Tablet and Pen, Literary Landscapes from the Modern Middle East, and Muslims and Jews in America, Commonalities, Contentions, and Complexities. Most recently, he is the author of #1 New York Times bestseller Zealot, The Life and Times of Jesus of Nazareth, and he's here today to talk with us about this book. So welcome, Reza.
Thank you,
for
Jason.
joining us.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me. Let me just say that this room looks so much cooler than it did when I was a student here, which I was thinking about on the way here. I woke up this morning and I thought, this is so awkward that I'm going to be talking to students. I mean, I just graduated from here. And it turns out, no, I didn't just graduate from here. That was 14 years ago. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you how long ago it was. I used to sleep in Div Hall. That tells you how long ago that was.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Reza. We're so happy to have you. I think what I want to start with today is, although many of us here will have read the book, or at least read about the book and have thought about it a lot, I just want to sort of give us a sense here of what first got you interested in this topic. Mm-hmm. I wonder if you might speak a little about the creation of the book. How did you first become interested in the life of Jesus? What interested you and inspired you to take up a book-length project about the topic for those who haven't yet had the chance to read it?
Well, I would say that I probably had a similar experience to a lot of people in this room. I mean, I often say that if you decide that you're going to dedicate your life to the study of religion, either you're crazy or you decided to do so originally from a place of faith, and then very quickly that faith was sucked out of you violently. But that same thing happened to me. I grew up in Iran. Very secular family, didn't really, I mean, we were Muslim in the sense that it was part of our identity, but when we came to the United States after the Iranian Revolution, which, if you remember the 80s, and some of you do, wasn't the best time to be Iranian or Muslim in the United States, and, you know, a lot has changed, apparently, in 30-something years. That's sarcasm. I really did everything that I could to kind of distance myself from the religion of my forefathers and the culture and heritage of Iran. In fact, as I often say, I spent a good part of the early 80s pretending to be Mexican. And so for me, I'd always been deeply interested in religion and spirituality, despite the fact that I didn't have any kind of spiritual education or religious experience. I think part of it had to do with the childhood images of revolutionary Iran that had really burned themselves in my consciousness. The power that religion has to transform a society for good and for bad is something that I've never been able to shake. But I never had an opportunity to express that in any kind of deep, meaningful, intellectual or spiritual way until when I was in high school, when I went to an evangelical youth camp and heard the gospel story for the first time. This sort of transformative experience of the converting to a particularly conservative brand of evangelical Christianity gave me my first opportunity to really express that deep longing for spiritual connection that I'd had most of my childhood. I went to Santa Clara University, a nice Jesuit Catholic university in the Bay Area, and there I began the formal study of the New Testament, and I had that experience that I think a lot of people in my situation have, where all of a sudden you realize, oh, most of what I was told was not right, that there's so much more, so much deeper that you can delve into the historical Jesus and the world in which he lived. And although eventually I did separate from Christianity and then ultimately did revert back to Islam many, many years later, again encouraged by my Catholic priest. So this is something that the Pope should not be aware of, is that the Jesuits are turning people away from Christianity and toward Islam. This is something that Glenn Beck would have a field day with. I continued delving into the New Testament, and I suppose the only way that I can put it is that the Jesus that I was discovering, this man who lived 2,000 years ago, and the world in which he lived became more real to me, became more interesting, more appealing. To put it in Christian terms, I wanted to have a personal relationship with this man in a way that I never could really get with the Christ that I had been introduced to in church. And so truly, if you're asking what was the impetus of this book, that was the moment. I wanted to let other people in on this experience that I had, this experience of being confronted with the historical Jesus.